Your next grocery trip might feel normal, but under the surface, the shelves you've taken for granted are on the edge of a major shakeup. While the headlines are talking about eggs or beef, there are 10 everyday products quietly vanishing. The kind of things you probably bought last week without thinking twice. Over the past 3 weeks, I've been digging through data from over 1,800 retailers across North America, and the numbers are alarming. Some of these products have already dropped to just 30% of their usual stock levels. This isn't a glitch, and it's not just about higher prices, it's about items simply not showing up at all. Why? Because our supply system is straining in ways we haven't seen since the extreme weather has wiped out harvests, shipping costs have exploded, and worker shortages are closing entire processing plants. Grocery chains are trying to manage this quietly, but by the time they post out of stock no ETA signs, it'll be too late to grab what you need. I'm going to walk you through exactly which items are disappearing, why it's happening faster than experts predicted, and how you can be ready before everyone else catches on. This isn't about panic buying, it's about staying 2 steps ahead. Number 1. Premium Vanilla Extract. Don't underestimate this little brown bottle. It might soon be worth more than gold. Literally. Madagascar grows about 80% of the world's vanilla beans, and back-to-back cyclones just destroyed plantations that took years to mature. Vanilla orchids aren't quick crops. They take about 4 years before they even produce pods, so when they're wiped out, recovery is painfully slow. And as if that wasn't enough, a warehouse fire in New Jersey last month burned through nearly a quarter of America's reserve vanilla supply. That stockpile was meant to get us through the holiday season, gone in 3 days of flames. Prices have already jumped 85% since January, but most stores haven't passed it on to shoppers yet. That's about to change. Some big chains are now quietly limiting customers to 1 bottle each. Vanilla isn't just for cookies and cakes. It's in protein powders, fancy lattes, ice creams, even some cosmetics. Food companies are racing to secure whatever's left, which means even less for you and me. Experts say we may not see normal vanilla supplies until late. If you use it, now's the time to grab the real stuff. Pure extract or vanilla bean paste. Store it in a cool, dark place, and it'll stay good for years. Number 2. Certain types of rice. Rice is the backbone of diets for over half the world, and right now, it's in trouble. India, the largest rice exporter, has extended its export ban for another year. That's about 40 million tons, suddenly unavailable to the rest of the world. Thailand's production is down by more than a third, after relentless floods drowned entire province. Meanwhile, Vietnam's key growing region, the Mekong Delta, is seeing record-breaking saltwater intrusion, turning once fertile paddies into wastelands almost overnight. China has jumped into the market, placing its biggest import order ever, over 3 million tons. And when they buy big, prices everywhere spike. In the US, California's rice yield is down by a quarter due to drought, and southern farmers are switching to more profitable crops like soybean. That's making jasmine and basmati rice, the fragrant favorites, especially scarce. With prices likely to double or triple soon, even plain long-grain varieties are feeling the squeeze. If rice is a staple in your home, now's the time to buy and store. Keep it in airtight containers with oxygen absorbers, and it can last for decades without losing quality. Or start getting familiar with substitutes like quinoa, barley, or bulgur wheat. They're easier to find right now and still give you that filling, starchy base for meat. Number 3 on our list might catch you off guard. Cooking oils. That bottle of sunflower or vegetable oil sitting in your pantry, it's about to become a rare sight. Ukraine, which supplies nearly half of the world's sunflower oil, has had its production nearly wiped out due to the ongoing conflict. Russia, another major player, has pulled back on exports to protect its own supply. But here's the domino effect no one's talking about when sunflower oil disappears. Manufacturers rush to replace it. That's putting heavy pressure on soybean, canola, olive, and even more expensive options like avocado oil. They've already jumped about 40% in just the last month and a half. Some smaller stores are quietly limiting how many bottles you can buy. Restaurants are changing their fryer oils, snack companies are swapping ingredients, and even cosmetics brands that rely on these oils are scrambling. And the timing couldn't be worse. Summer barbecues, fall food production, and holiday baking all demand massive amounts of cooking oil. So if you use it often, now's the time to stock up. Choose oils that work for multiple cooking styles like avocado or grapeseed oil, and store them in a cool, dark spot to keep them fresh longer. Number 4 is going to sting for coffee lovers, especially if you've got a taste for the good stuff. Premium single-origin beans are in serious trouble. Ethiopia's famous coffee-growing belt just went from its worst drought in 40 years to devastating floods. Entire crops are gone, and some farms that have produced coffee for generations are starting from scratch. Jamaican Blue Mountain, Hawaiian Kona, and other high-end varieties are now so rare, roasters can't promise they'll have them next month. It's not just the exotic beans. Colombia's coffee output is down 30% from labor and shipping problems, and Brazil's erratic rainfall is hurting both yield and flavor. Coffee futures are swinging wildly, and smaller roasters are getting priced out. That means fewer choices and higher prices for you. If you've got a favorite premium coffee, grab it now. Buy whole beans, seal them in an airtight container, and freeze them to keep the flavor fresh for months. Experts say this shortage is only going to get worse as we head into fall and winter. Number 5 is one you might not expect, but it could completely flip your morning routine on its head. While most people are watching coffee prices climb, tea lovers are facing a storm that's even more intense. Let's start with Sri Lanka, home to some of the finest Ceylon tea in the world. Production there has plunged nearly 50% after their worst economic collapse in decades. Fertilizers are too expensive, workers are leaving the country, and entire plantations are being abandoned. But that's just one piece of the puzzle. Kenya's tea farms are battling unpredictable weather, and in India's famous Darjeeling region, growers are literally moving their tea gardens up mountains to escape the changing climate. Some family-run estates that have been around for over a century have had to close for good. Meanwhile, China, by far the world's biggest tea producer, has quietly pulled back on exports. No big announcement, but shipping data shows a 28% drop in tea shipments compared to last year. Translation? They're keeping more for themselves, and that's never a good sign for global prices. Here's the kicker. Premium teas are disappearing fastest. Earl Grey, English breakfast, specialty herbal blends, they're turning into luxury items overnight. Some brands have even stopped taking new orders, and are only supplying their biggest existing customers, leaving small retailers and their customers high and dry. If tea is part of your daily ritual, now's the time to stock up. Loose leaf tea keeps better than bags, especially if stored in airtight containers away from heat, light, and moisture. Done right, it'll keep its flavor for years. Number 6. It's all about bread flour, and that one's going to hit much closer to home. Home baking has exploded in popularity in recent years, but the wheat supply chain is buckling under the pressure. Kansas alone, responsible for about 40% of U.S. wheat, has been slammed by the worst drought in 15 years, followed by hailstorms that wiped out much of what was left. Even worse, the mills that turn wheat into flour are dealing with soaring energy costs, permanent closures and machinery breakdowns. Premium brands like King Arthur and Bob's Red Mill are rationing supply to their biggest buyers, which means smaller stores are getting half or less of what they order. Bread flour is getting hit hardest, especially for artisan loaves and homemade pizza. All-purpose flour is still easier to find, but even that has jumped over 30% in price. Bakeries are raising prices, cutting menu items, and scrambling to find enough flour just to stay open. If baking is a big deal in your house, especially with the holidays coming, buy flour now. Store it in airtight containers with bay leaves to keep pests away, and it'll last for months. Or go old school, buy whole wheat berries and grind them as needed. Stored properly, they can last for years. Number 9 might just change the way you snack forever. We're talking about nuts and nut products. Almonds, pistachios, walnuts, pecans. If you love them, brace yourself. California grows about 80% of the world's almonds, but years of relentless drought have pushed many farmers to abandon entire orchards. And here's the kicker. Almond trees take years to mature. Yeah. So even if it rained non-stop tomorrow, we'd still be years away from bouncing back. It's not just almonds. Pistachio harvests in Iran are way down thanks to water shortages. California's walnut crop is struggling, and in the southern U.S. pecan groves have been battered by hurricanes and unpredictable weather. This ripple effect is hitting everything from nut butters and trail mixes, to granola bars and holiday baking supplies. Some companies are reformulating recipes with fewer nuts, while others are quietly pulling products off shelves altogether. Prices? already climbing. Macadamias and pine nuts have nearly doubled. Even peanuts, the cheap nut, are getting more expensive. With the holidays approaching when nut demand usually spikes, expect things to get worse. If nuts are part of your diet or baking plans, now's the time to grab them. Store them in airtight containers in a cool, dry place, or freeze them to make them last even longer. Number 10 is hands down the most surprising shortage I've uncovered, and I had to fact-check this one several times. Ready? Aluminum foil. That shiny roll in your kitchen drawer might soon be worth its weight in gold. Making aluminum takes a massive amount of electricity, and with energy prices skyrocketing, several big smelting plants in the Pacific Northwest have shut down temporarily. These plants make the raw aluminum that eventually becomes foil. But even when the aluminum is available, there's another snag: the specialized machines that press it into those thin, smooth sheets. Most of their replacement parts come from Germany, and current supply chain backups mean if a mill breaks down, it could be offline for months. One manufacturer is operating at just 45% of normal capacity and prioritizing big commercial buyers, leaving grocery stores with less stock. And just to make matters worse, China, which produces over half the world's aluminum, has quietly cut back on exports to keep more for their own industries. This is already leading to shrinkflation moves, like Reynolds Wrap quietly shorting rolls while keeping the box the same size. Industry insiders are warning that by September, aluminum foil could be unavailable in some markets or so expensive it's basically a luxury. Restaurants are already scrambling for substitutes like parchment paper, but those won't work for everything. If you cook, grill, or store food with foil, it's worth grabbing a few extra rolls now. This shortage could last well into 2026. Now here's the bigger picture. These shortages aren't random. They're part of a much larger breakdown in the global supply chain, a system that's been quietly holding everything together for decades. Climate change, political tensions, energy costs, and labor shortages are all hitting at once, creating a perfect storm across multiple industries. Grocery stores know this is coming. I've spoken to buyers who are quietly adjusting orders and bracing for impact, but they're not exactly shouting about it. Why? Because if word gets out too fast, it could spark panic buying, making things worse. Here's my advice. This is not about hoarding. It's about smart, gradual preparation. Buy what you actually use. Keep an eye on your local shelves. Watch for little changes, certain brands disappearing for a while, smaller package sizes, or prices creeping up on things that used to be stable. September will bring a collision of seasonal demand and supply shortages, and the shoppers who fare best will be the ones who acted early, without overdoing it. Some of these shortages, like aluminum foil and certain nuts, could stretch well into 2026. Others will recover soon. Either way, flexibility and awareness will be your best tools. And remember, shortages don't have to mean misery. This might be the perfect time to try new recipes, swap in alternative ingredients, and rediscover simpler cooking methods. Throughout history, some of the best dishes were born from making do with what was available. The bottom line, knowledge beats panic every time. If you've made it this far, you're already ahead of the curve. So take what you've learned, prepare smart, and help friends and family do the same.